This is a U.S.-China media brief produced by the UCLA Asian American Studies Center. The U.S.-China media brief features interviews with experts and other prominent individuals involved in studying and documenting the dynamic and ever-evolving relationship between the United States of America and the People's Republic of China. I'm Russell Leong, Director of the U.S.-China Media Brief of the UCLA Asian American Studies Center.
Did you also ask workers about their preferences or satisfactions around, say, things like job security or benefits, this type of thing?
Yes, we did ask workers whether you have work safety insurance coverage or not. Interesting enough, is about half of them say yes, half of them they say no. Keep in mind, in our sampling, as 70% of people come from private sectors, meaning the factory or the place, the company was owned by private persons rather than by state-owned enterprise, or rather than by state. So half and half, that's the case. In terms of, for the question of how are you satisfied with your current job? It's from very unsatisfied to the very satisfied in the five scale. If you put the very unsatisfied and the unsatisfied, these two categories together, it comes about for 1/3 of people.
Now this was a kind of a random sampling, right? Because only people who are happy to answer the survey responded.
It's not exactly the random sampling, because doing random sampling is very expensive, and we kind of take a compromise in our sampling measures. Basically, we interview people. They went home for a spring festival in the train station and bus station. The assumption is, number one, spring festival, most people go home, regardless whether it's poor workers or the general managers. The second, well, in that case, sort of everybody go home, right? The second consideration is that we assume the higher level manager do not take the train and bus. These days they usually take the airplane. The third assumption is, since these are workers from all over, and they're away from their factory setting and from their workplace, assuming the manager are not looking over their shoulders, right? So they feel more free. So in that sense, I wouldn't say it's a random sampling, but we were able to try to minimize the systematic bias. So I feel rather confident with this kind of sampling. There's some problems, but comparing to you go into the factory and the manager can control who you can talk to, I think this is a much better way to interview people.
Now you had just mentioned that their salary over the past couple of years has increased about 300 renminbi, right? So is that about what, 15%?
It's about let me see, 1/3.
1/3.
30%.
30%. So, I see. That's quite a bit actually. But most of these come from private enterprise. Right?
Yeah. Well, on average, most of the workers came from the enterprises, and yeah, that's right. And 30. It's not exactly. It's let me say a quarter, 25% increase. I would say.
Now, in the West, we heard that the world economic recession has also affected workers in southern China. Is that true?
Interesting enough, the time when we conduct the last survey is on the early February of the year 2009, which is about the same time the financial crisis hit. From the newspaper report, we heard some factories, they will laid off worker in a fashion that they ask them don't come back next year. But in our sampling, we didn't find too much impact of the financial crisis yet, especially looking for the average wage level. tends to be the highest in the 4 years. But if you want to figure out the true impact of financial crisis, you have to wait until our next survey study, which means the February of year 2010, and then that study might be able to show the real impacts of the financial crisis. But for the year, the February year 2009 cases, their impacts didn't show too much.
Actually, you've been involved in a number of longitudinal studies because we had read a study of yours based on 2004. It was published in 2004. It was about what Chinese workers thought about their preferences, but I believe the data set was from earlier period.
Yeah, I started my study on workers on the year of 1995. So my first study it was funded by the Hong Kong higher education grant. At the time I was working in the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. So in that study, we mainly focused on state-owned enterprises. That was a study of, it's also involved like, 4,000 people over 45 factories in 5 provinces. The survey was conducted in year 1997 and 1998. We also conducted a bunch of in-depth interviews. So that data I'm still working on because it's so rich. It provides a lot of things to think about the transition of the Chinese economy. What was good, what was bad, what's the long-term impact. I'm still working on that.
I see. Yeah, well,